Hi everybody, thank you for tuning in to episode 4, and I'm really excited to introduce to you my good friend Peter DiMuro, who's here and is going to be offering a session in interrupting pattern and making choices in dance and movement, although I think that applies to life as well, don't you?
Sure does, yeah.
I have so much to say about the way that your process influences mine regularly and has since I met you, but I wonder if you want to offer a little bit about what you're going to be teaching today and guiding us through today.
Sure. Well, I think the title says it all. We are creatures of habit. All human beings build routines because we feel safe with them and we know them. And I think often we can get into bad patterns and rhythms for our body, bad ways we hold our bodies. And so this is kind of like an interruption to check those things out. But then also as human beings, and when we perform dance, because life is a performance and you're working with a partner, you're engaged with each other dynamically, you want to also be in a dynamic dialogue with each other. So that's what I hope we're going to do today.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. Hi everybody, I'm Peter DiMuro again, and we've titled this session Interrupting Pattern and Making Choices, and I think that's what we're about to do. It's the human part of all the dancing that we learn either in social settings, the foxtrot or swing or any of the other dances you'll see with Michael. But my life has been concerned with making dances, making movement, inventing movement, although that's a long stretch. Do you really invent movement? You make movement that the body can do. And I've always enjoyed exercising and also enjoyed doing social dances, but what really gets me excited is this idea of the human within the dance. So this session is about you inside the dance, that you might learn more structured. You might learn the architecture of a dance, let's say how it lives in space and how it lives in the body and the footwork. And I'm going more for the spirit, what you bring to it, the choices that you bring. So you're in charge of your own body and your brain. Don't go anywhere you don't want to. Of course, be safe as you're working. That's really, really important. And just a few other things before we start to move. This is built on the tenet, the idea, that you can marry a thought, your curiosity, a question with movement. And it happens every day that you might see someone down the street and you might point, and all of a sudden the idea of, wait, do I know that person? And you instinctively go to point. This is just a natural idiosyncratic gesture that starts to happen. There are other ways that we look at codifying and categorizing movement that you do naturally, idiosyncratically, and then we might look at different ways that we can point out that you're already dance makers, you're already choreographers already. So I'd like to acknowledge too that these methods have been developed by people way before me. The ancient storytellers knew a lot about movement and dancing. And when we think of historic, long time world cultures, we understand that stories and movement went together. But more recently, my friends at Liz Lerman Dance Exchange helped develop some of this work. So here we go. I think we're just going to warm up the spine a little bit here as we go. So as you're sitting, I'd like for you, if you could, move towards the front of your chair so that your sits bones, the kind of the promontory bones below each cheek, are on the edge of the chair there, and you can rock around a little bit on them. If you thought of moving forward or moving backwards, and what I mean by moving forward is tipping forward, tipping the pelvis forward like that, if I'm thinking of my waist and the pelvis below it, or tipping back, the circle that is the equator of the waist starts to move in this way. Just do that a few times for me as you're sitting. I know it might feel weird, right, to do this alone or if you're in a group, but laugh about it. It'll make you feel better, right? Nobody's watching. I can't even see you through the screen. Great. Now we're going to just settle on where I think center is. And then we're just going to rock side to side a little bit as well, from one sits bone to the other. A lot of this work comes from mind and body work, as well as anatomy and kinesiology work as well. And now we're just going to make a circle. We're going to go to the right side, pick a side, I'm not sure if you're mirrored or not, to tipping back, tipping to the left, and to the front. and then reverse that. Right. And you might just repeat that on your own timing, any tempo you want to. Now, as you're working there, and just continue to make the circles, just have your second eye, the eye in the back of your head, asking yourself, what is my spine doing as all this is happening? What's the relationship of my tailbone, right between my sits bones, and how the spine is curving up through the body, and how it reacts? It can do something like this. And you can freeze and start to block the movement, but you can also just allow the spine to react, to respond. There you go. I say there you go to myself. I can see you now, really I can. So the pelvis, once we settle in the center of where we are, we're going to feel the spine growing out of that. And if you could, just hear the sound of my voice for a little bit. It's going to be like radio. It's going to be like the old time, 1940s, 1950s for a bit. If you want to close your eyes or haze your eyes over. And as you're sitting there, just imagine yourself imagining each separate vertebrae. It doesn't matter that you know what they look like, if you've had anatomy class or not. But there's a series of several, 24 or so more, little discs that make up the spine. And what I'd love for you to do is just imagine yourself traveling up and bringing a sensation of cushion to each vertebrae and the space between them. As you're breathing in and out, just allow yourself almost to sway in the breeze a little bit, and to allow the vertebrae to grow space between them. Great. And just relax for a second. Just kind of take the energy down a little bit. Let your arms relax, shake it out. There we go. Great. We're going to warm up our necks and our heads a little bit and our shoulders just to see how we're doing with all that. Let's start with the head. And again, everybody's neck and past lives are different. So be careful. Know the range in which you can move. So we're just going to take the head, we're just going to dip the chin down to the sternum and come back up very simply. And then we're just going to take, for me, if you would, take your eyeballs and just look first up. I take my glasses off for this. Look first up, and then follow, your skull is going to follow the direction of your eyes looking up as far as you can go. Don't drop back into it. Just allow yourself to be supported by the back of the neck. And then the same thing is going to happen on the reverse. Your eyeball, or maybe both of them, is going to come forward and look down your nose. My mother told me never to do that, but look down your nose and bring their head to where you think it's level. And once again, we're going to just drop the chin as far as it can go to eye level, horizontal eye level, and then back, eyes leading back, and then centered off. We're going to do similar to the right earlobe. The right earlobe, as if someone's tucking on it. It's going to tuck to the side. And you're trying to find that horizon with your eyes as you stay there. And then the other side. It feels really good. You'll feel a nice little stretch here. Again, you're only going as far as you can go through. So we're going to take that a little full circle. Front to one earlobe. High back, eyes really seeing to a side and front. And reverse that. And the last little thing, I'm going to ask you to bring the eyes up to horizon. So the head is in a position where you believe it to be centered. I'm going to take a little break from the movement. Just shake that out. Make sure you're breathing. You can play with this in your own timing. I'm just going to talk for a second about what we perceive to be level, what we perceive to be balanced in our bodies is not always anatomically balanced because of injuries, because of some imbalance that is just perpetual, perhaps habit. Did we talk about habit? I think we did. Interrupting habit. So we want to interrupt the habit of all that. So there are several exercises with a partner that can help you with this, but since we're alone for this, I'd like you to take actually your fingertips, forefinger and thumb on each earlobe, and as if you're trying to bring the back of your skull into a pillow that's mounted on the wall behind you. Picture that. How did that pillow get on the wall? I have no idea, but use your imagination, right? So you're here and you're just lengthening back in. And then drop the arms for a second and close your eyes. How does that feel? It's going to feel could feel strange. You might feel a release of tension somewhere in your neck. Great. And just let it rest back on. Are you sitting on your sits bones? How's your spine? Are you breathing? I hope you're breathing. Please keep breathing. And feeling the head kind of nestle on this. For most of us, and without me there in your apartment or a house with you, it's impossible for me to say, but most of us, I'd say 99% of us in the population tend to reach forward with their chins, as you see this way, right? So what we're trying to do is to find the spine and the head on top of it, to interrupt that pattern of that. Great. So back to your sits bones. Rock around a little bit here. As you do so, try to lay the back of the skull into the pillow you see. Go any tempo you want, slow or fast, it doesn't matter. The movement can be small, but you're really trying to feel the back of that skull, feel the pressure on those earlobes to lengthen your head back onto that pillow. Great, great. There's actually two, but one more body part or isolation that I'd like to look at with you in your related to your spine, and that's your shoulder carriage as well. Many of us, do this for me, just shrug like you've been asked a question and of course you don't know the answer to it. I don't know, all right? It's natural for all of us to do this. Once again, idiosyncratic movement. So bringing that up and down and up and down. This may be hard for some people, so adapt as you need to. Take one shoulder and down, and the other shoulder and down. Try this for me. If I were to ask you to just place your hands on your ribs, on your upper ribs if you can only do one side, or if you can adapt and do a cross over the body. I know this is not a position we find ourselves in every day. But you're just trying to find the widest part of your ribs. That's usually toward the top third of the ribs. And if I were to ask you to allow your rib cage to lengthen up into your armpits as you drop your shoulders, what would that feel like? Go ahead and try it for me. You're going to lift your rib cage as your armpits soften down around them. And for the heck of it, just lay back into that pillow at the same time. God, I felt that. I don't know if you felt it, but I felt a lot happening there. All right, and relax. Let's do that without the hands inside there. So a lot's happening. You've got this beautiful spine, this beautiful creation that gets compacted often. You're on a pelvic base of those two prominent places on your pelvis. You're breathing in and out. You have a cushion between your vertebrae. And as you breathe in and out, your shoulders are going down so that your rib cage can meet the armpits. And breathing in. And exhale, bring that all together. The back of the skull is laying into the pillow. Keep breathing. And once again. Armpits are just meeting the rib cage. The rib cage is meeting the armpits. Great. I am sure you're doing amazingly. Just shake that out a little bit and get that going a little bit. All right. So shoulder-wise, I think what's happened, often we find ourselves that I call this the mommy pick-me-up pose, We learned it when we were kids. It's like habit, right? So, Mommy, pick me up, right? Your sternum explodes, and the scapula, those are the two big angel wings in the back, in your back, come together more closely. So it's that kind of feeling. And we often, speaking of I don't know why, if you're asked a question, then you don't know the answer to, and you don't have much emotion about it, you go, I don't know. But if you have anguish and you don't know what the answer is, you go, I don't know, and you do the mommy pick me up phrase. It's inevitable. Rarely do you bring the sternum into collapse, into a contraction in this pose. But they're all valid, right? So you have the ability, when we're talking about habit and pattern, the pattern is, let's find a way to bring the scapula together. So my chest expands, that's the positive action. The negative action is that scapula is coming together. And then find center. And then a contraction of the sternum. We'll talk about this in a second. And through. I'm trying to over-dramatize it, so it might be just a small movement, almost an exhalation that comes right in this spot here. Just a little bit on this angle view. The contraction of the scapula, but the widening of the chest. And neutral, and then the contraction of the sternum right here. When I was studying voice, another little thought, psychologically the teacher would place emotive states onto the places that we would hold muscle or bone in a certain place. And this is true for all of us, is that this space right here, the sternum, there's a reason they called it armor in the medieval days with the knights wearing armor, right? You want to protect your heart. And similarly, what happens as we go to, live our day and we slip down slip over the banana peel in the kitchen, or we turn a funny way and we feel a pain or something, we go to armor ourselves, and the sternum hardens, and you go into mommy pick me up mode, right? So what we try to do, if that happens, is just to be aware, again, interrupting the pattern, the habit of holding in that place, right? So I'm not a therapist, a psychological therapist. I'm not a psychologist. But I am a keen observer of how we move and how we hold. So this has a lot to do with the spine and how we hold it. I'm going to exhale for a second, because we're going to go backwards. We're going to think about our pelvis again. All of the vertebrae with space and cushion among them. We've talked about our shoulder carriage and finding some place that is aware of itself, that is breaking the pattern of being held or breathing. We've talked about our armpits being met by our rib cage and our shoulders coming down to meet them as well, and how the head floats nestled in that nice pillow that someone strapped to the wall behind me. Who was that? Couple of nice big deep breaths in, and I hope you'll take this exercise. It's a great thing to do when you're riding the bus, driving the car maybe not, but riding in a car, on the bus, driving the bus. It's a great thing to do when you're riding in a car or on the bus, on a plane, at the desk as you're working. It's so simple to do, and I read about these exercises in magazines. The airline magazines are very famous for listing these. But what I miss is the reason why I'm doing it, right? They tell you what to do, and yet again, someone is giving you instructions from the inside out. What I would hope for us is that we're really breathing and using our sense of our internal space to create the balance that we want to interrupt that pattern of the heldness of our lives. Great. This has been really fun so far, and if you're still with me, we're going to just talk about one more body part that I think relates to how we can notice where we should be interrupting our habit. So I have a great friend, a woman named Pam Pietro, who's studied with some great people who talk about the alignment of bones and the balance of bones, as well as internal spaces to the body, but also external. And a lot of this work that we've been doing is related to that, but especially this part. And it's called the tripod of the foot. So I'm being filmed right now, and there's a tripod holding that camera up in front of me, and this one too. And there's a reason that there's three-footed stools, and there's a reason that there are tripods because they hold the balance better. If you think, and if you're a thinker like I am, I'm from the Midwest, kind of cynical, and why are we doing this? I want a good, solid reason. If you think of a line between 2 points, it's unstable. You put a ruler on its edge, it's going to fall over. But the moment you take that and make it into a triangle, it can stand up, right? So the line between 2 points is not always a stable line in that way. But as soon as I create 3 points of stability, then I'm pretty safe. The same is true for your foot. So I'd like for you, if you could, just rock back on your heels for a second, and so that your toes are kind of waving in the breeze there, right? And then just place the foot down, and then scrunch up so the toes are almost like your tippy toe in your chair, as much as you can. And do the same thing once again. So it's heels and then toes as well. All right, there's a midway place. If we're talking about threes, it's the bridge of the foot, right? And so just place the bridge of the foot. If you can, flex your toes and your heels are in the ground, and you'll be resting on what's called the bridge of the foot, right? You know this. And the outside pinky to the inside ball of the foot, under the big toe. You want to feel nestled there, just like we did with our pelvis earlier. We're going to just rock back and forth. And you do both feet at the same time or a single foot. But you want to find, just like I'm able to do with the pad of my thumb and the pads of my fingers, just feeling that you're really kind of articulating as much as you can, as if your toes were fingers, all right? That's sometimes an interesting game to play, that imagination. And feeling that through the bridge of the foot. And just like we did with our pelvises, finding the spot between those two ends, the two sits bones, you're gonna find that place on the foot itself, great. And then we're gonna try a rotation from, everything's lifted from the floor, except the heel. And you're going to rotate to the outside ridge of one foot, to the edge of the bridge, the pinky side, to the tippy toes, to the inside ball of the foot, to trying to find the arch on the floor. You won't succeed, but you'll try. It's about intent here. And then reverse that. So you're trying to actually, it's like taking a rim of a bowl and trying to put the rim sequentially on the ground. As you do this, you'll realize that your ankle is allowing you to do this, and we're interrupting the pattern, once again, of just the ankle moving up and back and forth. We know what that's like, right? It's just health-wise, it's not good for us, right? And you might try the other foot here too, just making a circle. One way and then the next, reverse way. That's great. And just shake the thing. I was going to call them wrists. We were talking about feet having hands, fingers. So just shake out your finger-like feet. Okay, just your feet. I'll stop with the jokes. All right, and we have that there. So we're going to add it all up here, and then we're going to try one other little thing that I think is about making choices too. So from your feet, you're going to rock just back and forth. You might go side to side on them. You'll notice if you allow that movement to happen successively through reaction and response, that the pelvis starts to go too. But let's just initiate it from our toes and feet, our heels. And then we think of the spine reacting, floating nice and tall. Think of that pillow behind our head. The armor that we sometimes carry can soften as well. And you're just feeling that the top of the head. And again, nobody's watching. Throw caution to the wind. Throw your spine to the wind and allow it to be, right? I used to test these exercises out with my mother, who was like, she didn't believe in all this movement stuff. Oh my gosh, it's nice when you guys do it, but not me. But she loved this exercise, actually. And through. Oops, I forgot my feet inside that. Let's try it again. So you're really thinking of the bottoms of the feet like rims of bowls, and that affects what happens to the knees and pelvis, to the spine, to the rib cage, to the shoulder, carriage, to the neck and head. and exhale, just shake everything out as you do. So as exercise goes, this is a way I find interesting to exercise. I used to numb out, I admit, when you'd be in a workshop and somebody'd say, do 8 of them on your left and 8 of them on your right, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. It gets you exercised, but I didn't have a connection with the movement. What we just experienced together was an internal approach, inside out, of feeling balance and moving away from center. And sometimes the center was our pelvis, sometimes the center was our rib carriage or our arm carriage, ankles and feet, etc. So you're just trying to move your idea of where center is in the body, again, as a choice or as an interruption of pattern as well, but it's internal and out, to out. I'm just going to spend a few more minutes because the rest of this gets into choreography, and that's lesson 36. We are all choreographers. Every day of our life we choose, just like we did when we saw that person we thought we knew and we pointed earlier on, and we talked about that. The same thing is we have these choices that we make in movement that people can see, but they happen from internal physicality, but they also happen because of an intention that the mind creates. And I think Michael mentioned it earlier, curiosity, wonder with the world. Where do I get to make choices as to movement? So if I were to design my own exercise regimen right now, which I'd like to do, and I don't want to do necessarily 8 counts of this and 8 counts of that and have my brain fall asleep, I might make some intentional choices about the movement based off of things that I know. So I'm going to turn around for a second here. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. All right. In this room behind me, and I don't know that you can see it or not, there's some pillows on a couch, right? Blanket is striped and the pillows are square in between them, right? And so if I were to trace, for instance, tracing is something that we do as human beings, to trace the stripes in front of me, to make them smaller, to make them bigger, to the full range of where I'm going. I might make that blanket really big. I might use both arms back and forth to make a bit of a phrase for myself, right? I could decide that the green stripes, the dark green stripes are exciting to watch here. And all of a sudden I get to the green stripes and they're fuzzier than the rest, right? I'm just taking the texture of that. So I'm taking real life and I'm copying it in a tracing kind of way. So now we have 2 ways. We talked about earlier, idiosyncratic. Oh, who is that? Who's that person I just saw? That too can be taken into exercise mode by repetition. All of a sudden you're doing cross the body and making a variation of the intention of who's that, who's that, who's that. And then you're actually singing rap too at the same time. But I'm not an expert in that, so I'm not going to go there. So you're finding that exercise from an intent that you're choosing, idiosyncratic intent. The stripes, you're tracing them. So you're taking an object, a physical detail, and you're making it part of your exercise regimen as you go. So now we've reached a point where we understand that idiosyncratic movement can help us interrupt pattern, are pointing at the person we think we've recognized. Also, we've taken a tracing of an object that we know. So I'm going to ask you to think along with me and imagine on this third way of creating movement, making some choices. I have something in my mind, a piece of clothing worn by a loved one when I was a child. I remember, color is a big thing when you're a kid, and I was very drawn to pieces of clothing that I wore or others did. So I want you to do the same. Think back to when you were a child, and you remember a color that a piece of clothing, maybe it was a piece of furniture or anything that you remember that comes to mind that you remember, wow, you just were attracted to or gravitated toward, right? And what is that color? And if you can name that color for yourself, go ahead and name it out loud. I'll get everybody's, I promise you, when you say it to the screen, when you think about that. So hold on to that thought, and I'll just give you an example of how one might translate this color to a movement or idea. So the color I chose is a peachy kind of salmon dress that my mother had, and my mother was not a fashion plate. She'd be in slacks if she could all the time, and and just be comfortable. But she had this beautiful wrap dress that was this peachy salmon color, and it was a wrap dress, and it opened, and inside was this kind of floral print that nobody could see. It's really it's like theater, right? It's like that wonderful Deus ex machina moment when the turntable appears in Les Mis, or you find out so and so is somebody's sister or brother in the play. It's the same moment when this dress would flap open and these flowers would you'd see at the edge of her skirt. But I remember the salmon part of that skirt. And what I'm going to do just on my arm here is I'm going to try to recreate the fabric. There's like the outline of the skirt, and as it would flap open, just create the gesture for that. And then there were flowers that bloomed right there. So we've taken a tracing, we've taken the actual action of the item, and then animated the action of the flower there. So I have a new phrase. So if I were to put all this together and make a dance, which I could use as an exercise base, or a game with my grandchildren, if I had any, or a way to connect with folks, there would be some way that I could say, connect this gesture with the stripes, with the tracing of this flap of a dress that would create an animation of that flower. This is what we call choreography. This is what choreographers do all the time. We attach meaning to movement. And again, this might be a lesson for number 36, 92, 52. But I hope that throughout all this work, looking at spines, shoulder carriages, pelvises, the whole body, where you can interrupt pattern, mostly of being held or breathing through it, and then bringing your intent, an idea that's a memory perhaps, a way for you to see movement and invent movement to keep yourself interested, and also as a creative outlet. Just like Sudoku and crossword puzzles, they say help keep our mind going. I believe this work keeps our bodies physical and going, but it also allows our minds to have an interplay with our bodies as we're working, and that for me creates a more balanced, healthy dimension. Thanks so much.
Peter, thank you so much for that offering. Again, as I say, we talk about it often, but I feel like I always have so much to say about the way that your process influences mine in so many ways, but particularly with ballroom dancing, where the information is so structured. The way we're first learning it is by way of these spreadsheets, and so you're literally looking at columns and rows to figure out where to put your feet, the rhythm that you're on, where to orient your body in space, and all of that information is good, and there's rigor to it. But there is something that I think is so really important about interrupting pattern and considering how we can invite curiosity into a form like that. And it's going to be really important for next week because we're going to be working on Foxtrot, which is a dance that I love to do. But again, like how can we invite that sense of wonder and curiosity, and how can we interrupt our own patterns within a dance that is so structured? So thank you again.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And thank you all for coming, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.